So he just introduced me, but I'm Hannah. I'm Elizabeth's younger sister. And I just want to start off by saying thank you all so much for coming out and celebrating Liz and Scott's union. I know I wanted to say a special thank you to all the bridesmaids and groomsmen for all the hard work that you guys did and all the work that all the extended family and everyone put into making this such an unforgettable and beautiful night, and also yesterday as well. And I also wanted to say a special thank you to the Downies for welcoming our family in with open, loving arms since day one, since we first met you guys. And I also want to say thank you for being so calm, as opposed to our family. And I want to say thank you to our family for probably sitting down still for the longest that we've ever sat down still without setting fire to anything. This is truly amazing. But, okay. So, but really, thank you so much to everyone for coming. This is so amazing to be surrounded by Liz and Scott's family and friends who love them so much. Okay. So, when Liz first met Scott, my sister intuition told me that she felt like he was different. She said, "Hannah, he's different." And she said, he's kind, he's sweet, he's nerdy, and he's handsome. She said, I think I really, really like this guy. And then now, although I'm the younger sister, I've always acted like the older sister in our relationship. And for all you older siblings out there, you know that you can get a little overprotective sometimes of your younger siblings. And so I was thinking, when she was telling me about Scott, I was like, where's the catch? There's got to be a catch. He has to have something wrong with him. Because everything that she was telling me about him was just all these positives. So I was like, where's the catch? I was waiting for it. And then she mentions that he drives a fancy sports car. And then my alarm bells were like just ringing off. I was like, oh no. And even before meeting him, he went from this nice, nerdy computer geek to some slick, smooth-talking dude with grease-backed hair who wore a leather jacket and probably wore aviator sunglasses inside. One of those kind of guys with crogies and things like that. And so I was like, Elizabeth, I don't like him. I don't like him. I have never met him, but I don't like him. And so so that's what I thought about him. But I think I have to explain myself a little bit more here and why I was like that. So I'll tell a little bit of a story. So for those of you lucky enough to have Liz in your life, you know that she's probably one of the most energetic and fun people that you've ever met. My parents actually have always told the story of how they basically went on a couple years where they never were able to go out to restaurants to dinner because Elizabeth would take one bite of food and run around the whole restaurant before she would take another bite. And those of you who know her now know that she's not any different. So my poor parents who didn't get to go to restaurants for a couple years. Yeah. So not much has changed. But in seriousness, Liz has just this remarkable warmth to her. She has just such a nurturing soul, and she exudes a love that knows no bounds. She means the world to me, and she's my very best friend. And I'm so incredibly blessed to have you as my sister. Liz, you have one of the biggest hearts of anyone that I've ever met. And I was terrified that it was going to get broken. Okay, so going into another story. I will never forget, I'm going to stop crying and shaking. I will never forget the night in Japan when I thought I was going crazy because I heard some scratches and some meows, and my face was itchy and my eyes were runny, and it was almost as if there was something I was allergic to in the house. I go into the bathroom and there's a cat. And I found out that Liz had brought home a stray cat again. And she was risking the wrath of my mom finding out. And if you've ever lived with my mom or ever met my mom, you know that cleanliness is next to godliness. And our bathroom was beyond saving, and so our mom never went in there. So Liz knew that this was the perfect place to hide a cat. And she had hid that cat in there for 5 whole days before my mom found out. And now that cat lives with my parents, not Liz. She has 2 more cats. But Liz, this may sound drastic to you, but Liz was always doing things like that. She was always risking herself and like just selflessly caring for others. And that's just how she is and what I've learned from her. Sorry. So she would always compassionately take care of others, sometimes even at the expense of herself. She has one of the biggest hearts of anyone I know, but a heart that big can get lonely. And it can only be filled by somebody with an equally big heart. And the more I thought about Scott's sports car, the more it became a vehicle for all my irrational fears of Elizabeth getting hurt. But it only took 1 second of meeting Scott to realize that Liz was right. He was different. There was no catch. He was the catch. I'm so grateful that Liz didn't listen to me about that one. I'm usually very mad when she doesn't listen to me. I'm very grateful that she didn't listen to me about that. Scott, your Lotus almost ruined everything. And I guess the moral of that story is don't drive a Lotus unless you're interested in picking up 60-something-year-old men like my dad, who is probably the most interested in driving the Lotus. And you scored major brownie points, so I guess it worked out in the end. But Scott, I just want to say that you were so incredibly kind and generous and loving. And it's funny because we didn't coordinate our speeches, but Jeff touched on that you just have such a big heart as well. And you and Liz are just so perfect for each other. It's just kind of unfathomable. And I'm so grateful to call you a brother and so happy that you guys found each other. So here today, surrounded by friends and family from near and far, I can see that Liz and Scott are not only loved as individuals, but also loved as Liz and Scott as a couple. And I call on each and every one of you to help support their marriage as they forge a new path into the future. So cheers to Liz and Scott.